Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel where we discuss all things money mindset, marketing, and metaphysics. So I'm so excited to talk about today's topic because it's basically, I'm sharing with you my San Pedro experience. So for those of you guys that don't know anything about San Pedro, I'm going to break it down to you in just a bit. But it's been such an amazing journey that happened last week, and I really took some time to digest and process everything that happened, and I learned 5 very important lessons from this ceremony. So you may be thinking, okay, so what is San Pedro, right? For those of you guys that are completely new to what San Pedro is, so basically San Pedro is a plant medicine, right? So it's also called huachuma, and basically what makes it psychoactive is the mescaline that's part of the cactus, and the cactus is found in the Andes, and it's such a powerful plant medicine because it's also known as the grandfather of all plant medicines. So it's known for its healing powers, its potential to really change the way you look at things, whatever it is that you are intending to see. Grandfather San Pedro will show you during your journey. And so it's kind of similar, but not the same as ayahuasca. So I've done ayahuasca 2 years ago. Ayahuasca is the grandmother of plant medicine. And that's more of like I would say a more deep emotional journey compared to San Pedro, which is a little bit more grounding energy. It's more positive in some sense. It's like it doesn't take you through that emotional roller coaster. And so if you're interested in doing San Pedro, I really highly recommend it for people that are going through deep healing or want some deep healing or have a lot of questions that they want answered. San Pedro is a good ceremony to go through just in any stage of your life, right? Just if you feel called to do it, then that must mean that you're ready for it, right? And I'm not going to go into kind of like what it is because, to be honest with you, I'm not an expert on plant medicine, but I can only share with you my experience, right? And so my intention going into the ceremony was that I've been feeling kind of stagnant in my life, stagnant being like I'm blocking myself. So there's a lot of opportunities happening in my life right now, a lot of great things. I'm in the middle of self-publishing a book. I have these programs running. I have my clients. And so I feel like things are well, but it's not where I want it to be. And the reason why I'm not where I want to be is a lot of it is because of like my own self-doubts. And for those of you guys that are familiar with this friend that you have called self-doubt, which is not really your friend, it's more like a frenemy, you'll understand that when it comes to resistance or self-sabotage or blockages, we do that to ourselves primarily because we feel stuck, right? Or we feel like a lot of resistance in doing something, and most of the time it's created by ourselves. That's it, right? And so we may think that there's external circumstances that are holding us back, but really the only person that's holding you back is really yourself. And so basically my intention going into the ceremony was that I really wanted San Pedro to show me my power, right? I wanted to be shown my power. And so we get there, and what's interesting is that when we got there, so I did this ceremony at my shaman's place. So my shaman recently moved to Joshua Tree, and I'll give his details in the comments below. But basically it's a one-day event. Actually, it's an overnight, so you have to stay overnight at this place. But the journey lasts about like 10 hours. It's a little bit longer than ayahuasca, I heard, although I did feel like ayahuasca was super long for me. But it takes about 10 hours, right, with San Pedro. And so I'll share with you kind of like our ceremony going into it, and then my 5 lessons. So I go into his place, and we start off by opening ceremony. And when we opened ceremony, it was really great because we basically did a despacho together, and we went around in a circle and talked about our intention, what our purpose was doing San Pedro, and we basically gave our offerings. We, intimately really set our intentions before we started taking the medicine. Right after that, we drank the medicine, and I must say, taking San Pedro down was so difficult in the sense that, number one, it doesn't taste good. And number two, the powder that he had didn't really mix well with the water. So it's kind of like you're drinking sand. Like you have to force yourself to take it down. And so that was the hardest part, probably, was actually taking the medicine down, because he had about like 3 tablespoons, actually probably even more. I felt like it was like a 1/3 of a cup even probably more than that, right? I don't remember. I just remember it being a lot, and maybe it's because it was so hard to take down. But that experience was not the most pleasant, but I felt like as if like I kept telling myself like, okay, you just have to get through this and you're going to be fine. So we took it down, and there's this weird thing about me where I feel like when I know there's an inkling that there's no way I can go back, that's when I start to get like terrified, right? So it's funny because leading up to the ceremony, I was so excited about the ceremony. I was so excited to just learn whatever I had to learn, whatever lessons I had to learn, that I wasn't really nervous. And it wasn't until I took the medicine down that I was like, okay, shit, like now I have to go through it. I don't have a choice. It's in my system, right? And so that was my only thoughts when it comes to taking down the medicine, is that number one, it doesn't taste the best. And number two, there's that fear of like, okay, like there's no going back, right? Okay, so after I took that down, we actually packed up the despacho, we went outside in the fire, and then a lot of that was like just the ceremonial part of it. But I want to really get to the part where I started feeling the plant medicine and then also the lessons I learned from it. Okay, so we went to kind of this area where he had like a sound bath, and we all laid there and we sat there, whatever made us comfortable. And I felt like that was actually when I could feel my ego telling me that I should be scared, that I should be nervous, because I was laying there and I was like listening to him do the sound bath, and all I could do was like clutch the sand beneath me or the earth beneath me. And that was because I realized I was so like nervous about the experience. Again, this feeling of like not being able to control anything, this feeling of like, okay, I'm really letting go and surrendering. I think that's probably the one thing that I feel a lot of people struggling with, is letting go and surrendering. Same with my clients. My clients, that's probably the number one thing that it's hard for them, is to let go, right? So in this experience, when you have the medicine down, there's no going back, right? Unless you throw up, unless you do that stuff. But in a sense, it's, it's now or never. And so after that sound bath, that's actually when I started to feel the medicine kind of kick in. And I would say that the feeling of San Pedro is much more, I can't even describe it. It's kind of like you feel like a little kid, but then you also feel like an old man at the same time. So you feel really playful. You feel as if like things are just like really good, but then you feel wise about it. You almost feel kind of like what is going on, and you know what the right path is, you know what you need to learn. You kind of see things very objectively, right? So literally I could explain the fact that I literally felt very playful, like a child, very present to the moment, and at the same time like an old man, where very like again, I can't really explain it, but it's like wise, very wise and knowledgeable. Okay, so when I felt, the medicine kick in, that's when I was like, okay, I don't know if it's going to be like an ayahuasca experience where I'm starting to see visions. I literally thought that was going to be the case. And because I did ayahuasca in the past, and because I guess was scared of that experience again, where I was just laying there and like I see all these visions and it just stops me from getting up, I thought that maybe at this time, this is actually when I should get up and walk through this labyrinth that my shaman Rami had set up in his place, right? So he basically set up this labyrinth in his place, and the point of the labyrinth is that you're supposed to go into the labyrinth thinking about your life as you walk through the labyrinth, which is like, it's a circular labyrinth. And then once you get to the middle, and then you walk back out, right? So for me, I didn't hear what he said. All I heard was like, okay, you should try out the labyrinth. So before I got way too into my journey, I was like, okay, I should do this now before I can't stand up. And so I walked over there, and what was interesting was that during that time, I still had a little bit of fear, right? I still felt kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to lose control. But I knew I just had to. And so when I walked over to the labyrinth, I actually picked up 2 rocks, okay? So those 2 rocks, to me, I represented them as my higher self and my ego. So basically I walked inside of the labyrinth, and I was just thinking about like all of my intentions, all the things that has happened in my life and in my business and all that stuff. And I was like walking through the labyrinth. And then when I got to the middle where he had this fountain, I literally dropped my ego in the water fountain, because that physical act of doing that allowed me to actually just relax and get rid of that fear. And so when I threw the rock into the water fountain and I started to walk outside, that's when I started to feel so much peace and just happy and feeling really blessed and ready to receive the guidance that I needed to receive from San Pedro, right? From grandfather. So that was the first lesson. The first lesson is that, are you hanging on to your ego way too tight than you need to, right? And I think in our day-to-day lives, we tend to just hang on to something because we feel scared or we're just too comfortable with where we're at. And the act of actually dropping your ego off, right, for the water fountain to babysit may be something that you can actually do in your day-to-day life. I know I have kind of realized that maybe I should adopt that into my day-to-day life. And so I want you to ask yourself, how can I actually drop my ego off, right? Whether it's on vacation, whether it's, at a babysitter's, so that I can actually tap into my higher self and tap into the person that is present to the moment, and that I can actually make clear decisions instead of always having the ego nagging or like being around you, trying to sway you of what you actually need to do. Okay. So that's the first lesson. So let's move on to the second lesson. So after that experience, that was when like San Pedro was like really kicking in. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, I need to lie down because I'm starting to feel not dizzy, but just like, I felt like I needed to be close to the ground. So I laid down like on a blanket, and I can't even explain this, but that was the moment when I just felt like the earth was so connected to me, or I was connected to the earth. So, we're all connected, right? We're all intrinsically connected, but sometimes we often feel like we're very separated. And so during that moment, laying there, like with my belly on the floor and touching the earth and seeing like the intrinsic details of a leaf, it made me realize how similar we all are and how we're all just so connected. We're all just energy. We're all just connected with each other. And sometimes we just lose sight of that. And I just felt so present. I just felt so good. And that's actually when an inspiration struck. And I pulled out my notebook and I actually drew a butterfly. I literally pulled out my notebook and I drew a butterfly. And for those of you guys that have been following me will know that butterflies are actually my sign. So I teach this, which is called evidential occurrence. So if you see something repeatedly at the same time, or if you set the intention of seeing a particular sign, then it's basically the universe guiding you and the universe telling you you're on the right path, right? And so for me, butterflies are that symbol. Every time I see a butterfly anywhere I go, it to me is a sign that I'm on the right path. And kid you not, right before I filmed this video and while I was filming, there were 3 butterflies that were just like floating around me. So my point is that I took out the notebook, and instead of like thinking about like, where is my butterfly, right? I literally just drew one. And so the lesson there for me, and the lesson I feel like I need to share with you guys, is that sometimes we're always looking for external guidance when really we should actually just take the time to look within, right? Or not even looking within, but just choosing and deciding that, hey, this is what I want to do, and that I can actually create the life that I want, right? I didn't have to wait for a butterfly to actually draw a butterfly. I just took out my notebook and I decided and I committed to just drawing a butterfly. And literally, it just showed me that as human beings, we really have the potential to create anything that we want. Our only limitation is really ourselves, our own self-doubts, our own self-sabotage, our own limiting beliefs that prevent us from creating the life that we want. So that lesson was for me to just, hey, you can always just pick up a pencil or a pen and just draw it. Like if you don't see it, then just draw it, right? If the opportunity is not there for you at the present moment, hey, guess what? You can actually do something about it. You can actually just draw it. You can create it, okay? So that was my second lesson. Let's go into the third lesson. So after that, I actually moved to another space in the space, and I was laying there again. I think that San Pedro actually really wants you to just be still and lay there or sit there. It's not really an active thing. You're not like running around or anything like that. So here I was sitting there, and it's funny because at that moment, that was when my shaman Rami came over and he was bringing a tray of cacao. Okay. So basically he went around and was giving people cacao. And when he came to me, there was one bowl of cacao on the tray. And basically he kneeled down and he said, Kristen, this is for you. You can go ahead and take it, right? And so he basically said the cacao was meant to enhance the San Pedro, or the plant medicine. And so it was funny because I took a sip of the cacao, and this is the part of the lesson, okay? I took a sip of the cacao and I put it back down on the tray, thinking that it was not mine. Because I was the last person that he got to, I thought that we were all sharing the cacao because I saw him kind of going around, but I didn't know that he had many bowls. So subconsciously, I felt like there was not enough, and so that I had to only take one sip and put it back on the tray. And then almost immediately, and I kid you not, I had this overwhelming feeling that I had to express, and that what I expressed to him was basically, Rami, I feel like I'm taking up a lot of your time, right? So basically, when you're on this plant medicine, all of the things that are subconsciously in your mind, they show up, right? It does that because San Pedro is trying to show you what you need to learn, right? In order for you to meet your intention or to understand your intention. And so here I was telling Rami, I was like, I feel almost as if I'm taking up too much of your time. And I remember him asking, like, why do you think that? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I almost feel so uncomfortable with the time that he's spending with me, right? And so again, that lesson there is that there's still areas in my life where I still feel scarcity, or I feel there's not enough. And he asked me to set my intention while I drank the cacao. So basically talk to the cacao and ask the cacao to show me my intention again. And I went ahead and did that. And when I did that, the moment my face left the bowl and I looked down on my bowl, I saw a picture of an eagle. So an eagle head. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with spirit animals, but eagles, in my opinion, really represent vision and, soaring to great lengths. And I've done one-on-one work with Rami before, and so that's a spirit animal that has been calling me, or that has been by my side. And it's so true, right? And when I looked at that eagle head, the story of the eagle and the chicken actually immediately popped in my head. So let me just share with you this story because it's so good. Basically, there's this story and there's this fable about this eagle who, was born an eagle, but for some reason he fell down his nest, and a farmer found him on the floor. And so the farmer took him in as a baby, and he started raising him amongst his chicken litter, right? So basically the eagle started acting like a chicken. He believed he was a chicken. He was just around chickens. And then one day he looked up into the sky and he saw an eagle fly, right? And so he asked his other chicken friends, oh, what is that? And then the chicken says, oh, it's an eagle. It's the king of all birds, and it soars really high, blah, blah, blah. But, we're chickens. So, don't even think about that. You can't do that. And so the eagle believed the chickens, not knowing that he was an eagle himself. And so the moral of the story is that, are you like an eagle living in a chicken world, or are you an eagle thinking that you're a chicken, or not playing into your potential or your gifts because of the fact that you don't believe in yourself, right? If you're watching this and this gives you goosebumps, or if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, this totally resonates with me, that's exactly how I felt when I drank that cacao, because I feel like a lot of the times it's my self-doubt that prevents me from getting to that next level. And so when I saw the eagle, I was really shocked. And then I drank a second sip and I asked that same question. And then the eagle turned into an eagle flying with his wings. And that was amazing. That was the message that I needed to see, because it was basically saying hey, Kristen, it's time for you to start flying. It's time for you to actually get up and go. So that was the third lesson with the cacao. And then just knowing that, look, the power lies within you, right? Your true power lies within you. You may think that oh, I can't do something because this is who I am. But you don't even know your power. You don't even know your greatest gifts. And so when I teach my clients, or when I coach my clients, a lot of the times, I can see things that they can't see within themselves, right? I can see their greatest potential, and it's so much easier for someone else to see our gifts than for us to admit it for ourselves, even though we know deep down that these are our gifts, this is our purpose, this is what we must do, we have it in our heart to do it, but sometimes we just question, or we self-doubt ourselves, and we self-deprecate ourselves. So lesson number 3 is to really just hone into your true power. Remember that you're an eagle and not a chicken, and to soar higher and higher and higher, and to really just tap into that essence, right? Okay, fourth lesson. So there's 5, so we're almost there. Okay, this is what happened. So after that, after I drank the cacao, some time passed, I was like, still laying there. I decided to get up and just move around. And for some reason, when I got up and moved around, I got a splinter on my palm. And to be honest with you, this splinter is still in my palm. I mean, it's really small. You can't even see it. I mean, I can see it from where I'm at, but I got a splinter on my hand. And literally for, I would say like 15 to 30 minutes, I was so focused on the splinter that people were trying to talk to me. There was all these wonderful things going on around me. And here I was focused on this freaking splinter that was so teeny that it didn't even matter. But here I was like super, super focused on it, right? I even asked Rami, my shaman, to give me a tweezer. And here I was in a corner trying to like pick at the splinter. And again, everything happens for a reason during your journey, right? And so here I was picking at the splinter. And it wasn't until Rami said something when we were like in a group, and I was literally in the group. Everyone was talking. Everyone was like still on their trip. And I was just like palms up, just trying to take out the splinter, like so focused. And that was when Rami told me like, your splinter is a distraction for you. It takes you away from the present moment and it takes you away from your success. We didn't say the success part. This is something that basically resonated with me later. But basically, I'm so focused on this small thing that literally makes up 0.000 like 1% of my entire body, when the rest of my body was fine. I wasn't present in the present moment. And so I want you to ask yourself, what are the things that are taking you away from you seeing that you already is a success, or taking you away from the present moment that you already have, right? Here I was surrounded by friends, surrounded by loved ones, surrounded by people that were going on this journey with me, and they were talking to me and they were trying to communicate with me. And here I was ignoring them, but rather focusing on something that was so small. So to me, the lesson there is that, sometimes we get so wrapped up on something so small, and it's really just a distraction for us that keeps us away from our bigger opportunity, right? Because here, I even kept the splinter in my hand to remind me to not pay attention to those small things, because in 2020 hindsight, they don't even matter, right? They don't even matter, because my splinter has been in my hand for now, 7 days. And it has just been a part of my hand now. Like here I was, I literally had these thoughts like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get an infection. Oh my gosh, like this is so bad. This is so bad for my body. Like all these horrible thoughts came flooding in, when really it's not a big deal. And so ask yourself, what in your life is not a big deal, but you're stressing out over it, that you can actually just allow for it to just be there, and instead of focus your attention on all the good things. And that bad thing is probably not even going to be a big deal at the end, right? Does it make sense? Okay. 5th lesson. Okay, so after the whole splinter incident, we went inside and we got snacks, and he made us this beautiful spread of different types of organic foods and fruits and crackers and all that stuff. And so I remember seeing this spread, and I saw this bowl of blueberries. And to make a long story short, whenever I see blueberries, I think of a talk that I heard from Reagan Hillier about always choosing the blueberries. Basically, the meaning I have behind that is that blueberries are probably the most expensive fruit, let's just say. And so are you buying fruit that you don't want because it's cheaper, instead of buying the fruit that you actually want? And so when I looked at the blueberries, in my mind, I'm like, okay, that represents abundance to me, okay, in my eyes, right? And so here it was, there was blueberries on the table, and I just really wanted blueberries. And so I reached over, I grabbed some blueberries, but I grabbed 3 of them, and I put it on my plate. And then I looked at my plate, and that there was 3 blueberries, and immediately, intuitively, this voice came over me and said, Kristen, why are you depriving yourself of blueberries? Right? And then my other thought was I want to save some for everyone else. I don't want to be taking away from people. And again, the term of taking away, right? Because sometimes we think that we can't do something because it's going to take away from someone else's experience, right? So here I was thinking I'm such a good person for only eating 3 blueberries and saving the rest for other people. And then literally, like I said, a voice came over me, and it was intuitively knowing that there's more than enough blueberries for me to eat, and if, let's just say, worst case scenario, there's no more blueberries left, I can always buy more blueberries, right? It's like not the end of the world. And so again, that lesson to me is another lesson of abundance, and that abundance is our natural state. Sometimes we're so off from that because we truly believe that, like, you know, we are in lack, or that we don't have enough, when really it's just in our minds that we don't have enough. We have more than enough. And I started just grabbing blueberries, right? I was grabbing the blueberries. I was like stuffing them in my mouth, and a few of them was like coming off my hands. They were just like bouncing off the floors. And then I was like, didn't care, right? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I dropped the blueberry. Oh my gosh, it's like the worst thing in the world, right? Like, and that's what I'm saying, is that the old me, right? The Kristen that was living in scarcity or feeling like there's not enough would freak out if there's not enough blueberries on the table. But I was like, you know what? Like, I deserve to have blueberries, and I deserve to be in a state of abundance. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that the fifth lesson is all about understanding that there is more than enough where that came from, and you can always create more. You can always do something about it. It's not lack. It's not something that's out of your control. It's something that you can create, and something that you can definitely embody. Okay, which actually reminds me, because I have a program called Attract with Ease Accelerator, where I basically teach my clients and my students how to build their relationship with money. And trust me when I say that I almost feel like so purposeful in this position, because I know firsthand what it's like to be living in scarcity, right? Like, I've experienced that. I understand it at my deepest core. And so when I created this program, I created it with, you know, actually my parents in line. I created it with my ancestral lineage in line, because I want to change that story, right? Like, I want to be able to show people that, like, you can actually live in abundance, and the only thing that's stopping you are actually your beliefs. So if you're interested in a program that will really actually change the way you look at money, change your relationship with money for the better, so that you don't have to stress about money anymore, then make sure you put yourself on the wait list for my program, which I'll put in the link below. But it's an amazing program. I absolutely love it. And I really think that if you're struggling with money mindset, or struggling with just money in general, it's such a good program to go through. So back to the San Pedro lessons. So those are the top 5 lessons that you need to know. But if you are interested in learning more about San Pedro, or if you're interested in going through your own journey, then I highly recommend you to do so. I went to my shaman Rami in Joshua Tree, and again, I'll put his information in the description below. But you can do it really anywhere. You can do it, I think, in Peru or Costa Rica. But if you have any questions around plant medicine, let me know in the comments, right? Because the thing is that I truly believe that it is our duty to heal ourselves in order for us to better serve the world, right? Like, if you feel called to be of service to the world, then it's also your responsibility to clean up all the stuff, all the baggage that you have been carrying, so that you can actually show up more powerfully for your clients, for the world, for the people that are following you. So I definitely feel like this experience helped me with my intention, better gaining clarity over my intention. And I really just recommend this experience to anyone. It's not as scary as I thought it was. It was definitely more calming. Again, you feel like a child and a grandfather at the very same time, which is so hard to explain. Like, how do you explain feeling playful and childlike, but also very wise at the same time? It's like two opposite things, but I guarantee you, well, again, actually I can't guarantee you, because your experience might be completely different than mine, but my experience was that, like, that was the feeling that I got. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is probably my longest video ever talking about my experience. But again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And yeah, feel free to follow me on Instagram and send me a message. That's actually where I hang out the most. And then if you want to see more videos on money, marketing, and metaphysics, then make sure you check out these 2 videos right over here. And make sure you click on the subscribe button, right? Because the thing is, that's when you'll know when my videos will come out, right? So I hope you guys have a beautiful day. and I'll see you guys next time.